You're here, I assume, for a death penalty lecture on the ethics of the death penalty. My name is Andrew Fiala, and I'm the chair of the philosophy department and director of the Ethics Center here at Fresno State. Say a couple words real quick about the Ethics Center and then let the speaker take over. The Ethics Center has been around for about 5 years here on campus. We sponsor these sorts of events. Basically, the idea is to engage the community in thinking about ethical topics. Spirit of open debate and open inquiry into some of the tough issues, and the death penalty and punishment is one of those issues. So we're glad that we can do this event today. This event and the Ethics Center itself is made possible by the Leon S. Peters Foundation, who has contributed to us now for 4 years. And so it's on the flyer, and this is the Leon S. Peters Ethics Lecture Series, and this is one component of that. So we'd like to publicly thank the Leon S. Peters Foundation for their support. And of course, the College of Arts and Humanities and so on. So quickly, let me introduce today's speaker, which is Professor Trudy Conway. Trudy has published, or has edited this book that's hot off the presses. A big box came full of these books. I think it's like this month that it's straight off the presses, called Where Justice and Mercy Meet. So she's going to talk about some of the issues that come up in the book. And let me briefly tell you who she is. She's a professor of philosophy at Mount St. Mary's University in Maryland. She's been actively involved in working with death row inmates and working towards the abolition of the death penalty in Maryland, connected with a larger network, several organizations that are working on death penalty abolition. I know she's going to explain more about that. But one of our speakers, there was supposed to be 2 speakers tonight, one of our speakers was unable to make it, Vicki Schieber, because she's currently working with the legislature in Maryland towards the abolition of the death penalty. And I think, Trudy, you're probably going to say something about that. I've known Trudy for probably 15 years, I think. She's seen my little children grow up. We meet at a conference every so often, Conference for Philosophy in the Contemporary World. Trudy has written on tolerance, on hospitality. She's interested in the virtue tradition. She's interested in intercultural dialogue. She's traveled throughout the Middle East. She knows about multiple traditions, both the Western philosophical tradition, the Catholic tradition, and Islamic traditions. And I don't know if you're going to get into that today. But this book just came off the press, and we have copies of the book for sale afterwards, which I think we're selling them for
50%, $10.
For $10. If you're interested in this topic, hits you, hang around afterwards, and the books will be available. So, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Trudy Conway. Thank you.
Is that okay, my voice? Is that good? You can hear me? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. You have a beautiful campus. It's been nice walking around. I come from a different part of the country, and we have a beautiful campus, but it's not as spacious and open as here. And I just went over to your lovely library where you're allowed to have food. And I'll go back and tell my librarians how wonderful and what a welcoming environment it was over there. It's a very nice place, and I really appreciate the invitation from Andy. All right, hopefully I'm only going to be talking about 40 minutes, and I'd like to have a conversation with you. So I'm going to try and keep a pace where I move so that we can have a conversation. As Andy said, I really deeply regret that Vicki is not here. I'm going to show you a clip that the Washington Post made a video interviewing her about a week ago. So she'll be at least here through that medium, that you'll get to see her. She's an amazing person and an amazing speaker, so it's really regrettable. She's a leading abolitionist. She's a founding member of a number of murder victim family member organizations. She has served on a couple of state commissions that are studying the death penalty, and she works very closely across the country with state legislatures that are trying to move repeal bills. Governor O'Malley of Maryland asked Vicki to make sure that she was in Maryland this week. Tomorrow, the repeal bill will be moved out of the Judiciary Committee, and we expect that it is going to pass. We have the votes that are needed, so unless there's some sort of snafu, Maryland is poised to become the 18th abolitionist state. So she has a lot to do. She's been testifying, she's been meeting with legislatures. This week she's meeting with different lobby groups, and she's also meeting with international and national organizations that will be doing intensive work over the next week to make sure this bill is delivered. Vicki and I have been working on death penalty issues for about a decade, and we actually both got involved through university students, our daughters, but our route was totally different. My daughter became very active in the abolitionist movement, and at one particular visit home, she confronted me in my kitchen and said, "Mom, I know you have always been against the death penalty, but in all honesty, you don't do a thing about it." And she said, "Every time there is an execution, if you do not stand against it, then your hands are bloodied. It's being done in your name with your tax dollars." So she said, "Your silence is incriminating you." Well, that was a real slap in the face, and it got me to think about this issue, and it's a philosophically interesting issue, so I began this journey of inquiry, and then it led to activism. Vicki was an entirely different route. Her daughter was a very prominent student at Duke University. She went on, after graduating 3 years with a 3.9 GPA in philosophy, economics, and mathematics, to get a full fellowship to the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School, Wharton School, which is the best school in business in the country. And at the end of her first year of exams, she was raped and murdered in Philadelphia. And Vicki then began this journey to study the death penalty. Much has happened since we began our work 10 years ago. We've seen a decline in the number of executions and the number of death sentences. It's declined significantly. And the current method of execution, lethal injection, has recently run into major complications, which have halted executions across the country in a number of states. And despite this, all these complications and slowing down, we continue to execute people in the United States. But unlike in our past, we do it now in the middle of the night, in restricted, heavily restricted, deep recesses of prisons with very few witnesses, and largely unknown by the public, unless you are on an alert that you know of executions occurring across the country. Most people have no idea that they are occurring. There's sometimes a passing acknowledgement in a local newspaper, but in general, most people have little awareness of and reflection on the fact of executions occurring. 2 years ago, Sister Helen Prejean's Death Penalty Organization asked me to write a book on the death penalty, and she wanted it geared towards a Catholic audience. And what I decided to do was draw a circle of professors from 13 disciplines. And we gathered for 2 years, and we spent time talking, we brought in prominent speakers, and then eventually everyone started writing. And we wanted to educate readers about the death penalty, in particular the Catholic stance on the death penalty. And Sister Helen Prejean often says when she speaks on campus, and I don't know, has she ever spoken on this campus? Okay, well, you should make sure you get her. She's a very good speaker. And she often says that support for the death penalty in this country is a mile wide, but it's only an inch deep. And as more and more people learn about the death penalty, their support for it tends to decline. Sister Helen emphasized 2 points in advising us about the design of our book. And I think this is a good recommendation for anyone that wants to start studying this issue. She said, "Be sure to frame this issue fundamentally as a moral issue. And secondly, be very careful to put a human face on it. Be sure you get to know people who live this issue, either through direct encounters or through narratives about these people. Don't just focus on philosophical arguments, which she knows philosophers tend to do, but draw on the experience of people who are eyewitnesses to this practice. Murder victim family members, families of the executed, persons on death row chaplains, spiritual advisors, wardens, members of execution teams, the people who live this issue. Because through that, we can be brought into the human reality of executions, the moral realities of this practice. And I think this was very good advice, and I recommend this to you. Focus on the moral arguments and focus on the human realities of the practice.